What's up YouTube, Capital G here. We're talking rarity bumps in this video and my ever-growing frustration with them and why I mean, it goes without saying that they're completely bad for the game, and I think that they definitely need to stop. In fact, this is one of those videos where like 95% of the people are on the same side and should agree with this. I've even gone a step further. Like in the past, I've said that secret rares just need to be eradicated from the game, that they don't really do anything except make the secondary market kind of like go crazy. Now, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to secret rares and releases where you're guaranteed to get a card. Like they could still do secret rares for like 10 cards, or in like special editions, super editions for booster packs where you're guaranteed to get a certain card. But outside of that, like putting them in a booster pack is just absurd. Like they just need to get rid of them. But more specifically, rarity bumps. These piss everyone off, and all they do is just they make it really hard for budget players to play certain archetypes. And the thing is, I don't think anybody has ever said, oh great, they took one of the cards that I needed and they took it from, you know, a rare or a common, they made it into a secret. Awesome, it's gonna look so nice. Like I don't think anybody's ever had that mentality. Most people have the mentality of, fuck, this was going to be a cheap card, now it's gonna be a really expensive card. Because even if you're a rarity whore like me, and you do enjoy like shiny cards, there's always the chance that Konami can just upscale something in a turbo pack or a gold series or something like that, and you can just get it later at a higher rarity. But most people in the beginning want to spend as little money as possible. And why am I bringing this up? Because if you look at the Arrow Mages, which were, I mean, I don't think that they were going to be what I would consider a chase archetype for this set. Like I think the chase archetypes are going to be the Cosmos and the Red Eyes. These guys have really gotten the shaft with these rarity bumps. You see here that Jasmine is now going to be a secret rare. That was, if I'm not mistaken, that was a rare in the OCG. And you see Rosemary has been bumped. You see the beautiful gold text, and I'm a fan of ultra rares, but still, this was a common in Japan. So for anybody out there who was looking to pick up Arrow Mages, like you probably thought, all right, this is they're going to be kind of the third wheel. They're not going to be an archetype that a lot of people are picking up. I can probably go around next week at the sneak peek or whenever around locals, pick this stuff up very cheap. Maybe not so much anymore. And the thing is, with the Arrow Mages not having a ton of monsters, you're probably running 2 or 3 of like all of them, or at least all the good ones. Like Jasmine and Rosemary, definitely like 2 or 3 of each. So this deck is now potentially artificially going to get expensive, and Konami has done it in other cases in this set. Like you look at Archfiend Eccentric. This was another card that was a rare, and this card's really, really good. It's just like they said. I mean, they kind of combined Mystical Space Typhoon and Exile Force into one card and made it into a pendulum. This card was a rare in Japan. Now it's a secret, and Konami has done this throughout the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! They do it all the time in every single set, where cards like Mistake and Shared Ride, these cards are like rares in Japan. Then they end up bumping them into secret rares, and you know, after the set comes out, people realize that they're good. You have cards that in Japan were $1, $2, $3 at the top, you know, maybe in North America or in the TCG and Europe and whatnot. You now have these cards being like $20, $15, and it's utterly ridiculous, because even if these cards are low rarity, people are still going to buy the set. So I've never understood what the purpose of the rarity bumps is. And we all remember, well, you may not remember this, but probably to me the most notorious rarity bump of all time in this game was Dark Arm Dragon. You had a card where when I looked at Phantom Darkness and I saw Dark Arm, I immediately said one thing: it's not once per turn. Okay, that's the best card in the set. I looked at that card and I was like, that card's going to be effing amazing. And Dark Arm was a rare in Japan. They bumped it to a secret rare in the TCG. It ended up being initially a $250 card, even shooting up to $300 at its height. That was just like, that's the effect of the rarity bumps. And I know some people are going to say, well, not every card that gets rarity bumped gets, you know, ends up being like super expensive. That's true. But the problem is, when you end up making these cards, like when you end up doing it for, you know, archetypes, and you rarity bump their cards that the deck absolutely needs to have, you end up with situations like Yangzing Path. Like this card was, I mean, this is a Duelist Alliance card for an archetype that's not super competitive. Like I don't think most people would consider Yangzing even a top 7 deck in the game, and they've pretty much never been. but a year later, this is still a $20 card, and you can't even use the excuse, well, why didn't you pick up Yang Zing's earlier? Because Yang Zing Path was always an expensive card, and it's never lost its value simply because it was a secret rare, so it's really, really hard to get. So anybody who's a fan of Yang Zing and maybe wants to play the deck because, you know, you just got Chou Feng in the last set, you got a little bit of support, you still have to spend a lot of money just to get a couple of Yang Zing Paths. If you want to run 3 of them, you're instantly looking at having to drop $60. Now, I'm not saying that these archetypes should not have hollow cards. That's not what I'm saying at all. I think that in Duelist Alliance, for the most part, they did it pretty well. You know, when you look at your set, obviously Konami knows the archetypes that are, if there are multiple good archetypes in a set, again, Duelist Alliance, not going to see anything like that again. But I'm fine with an archetype having maybe 2 ultras and a super or something like that. Like, that's perfectly fine. With Sir Tellarknights and Shadows, they knew ahead of time that these were going to be the archetypes that carried the set, because all they had to do was look at the competitive meta in Japan. They knew that those were going to be the ones that people want. They didn't really know what Burning Abyss was going to do because it was brand new. It was TCG archetype, so nobody really had any expectations. But they made Deneb and Alpha Nova both ultra. They made Wind and Construct ultra, and then they made Sinister Shadow Games Ultra. They called it a day. I'm okay with that. Even with Burning Abyss, Dante being a secret rare, that was fine, because out of the 5 cards, like, that was the only expensive one, and that's technically not a rarity bump. That's, you know, a card being released into TCG for the first time, so can't really argue with that. But there's also cases where Konami just goes off the rails, and you get something like Lightsworn, where JD was a secret, Celestia was an ultra, Solar Recharge was an ultra, Lila was an ultra, Aaron was a secret, what's it called? Wolf was a super, Raiko was a super. It's like the entire damn archetype was freaking hollow, and you end up with like a $600 deck. The same thing happened with Mermill. Abyss Gaios was an ultra, Lindy was an ultra, Megalo was a secret, Abyss Spear was an ultra. So sometimes they just go completely overboard, but rarity bumps are something that are just really frustrating. And if you have an archetype that's kind of on the lower tier, or you definitely know that it's not going to be one that people are just running out to buy boxes for, what is the sense of rarity bumping the cards? Like, it doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? All this is going to do is just piss off anybody who wanted to play Arrow Mages, or it's just going to break the bank. It turns a deck that should have been, you know, Ritual Beast level, where you spend $60 tops and get the entire deck. And now this deck might be like, this might end up being a $10 card, where you have to spend $30 on this. You might be having to spend, you know, $21 on this, and then still having to pick up all the other stuff and maybe the other ancillary pieces that you have to use to run this deck. So I don't know. I guess I'm just venting because I've never been a fan of rarity bumps. I'm not even a fan of the secret rare in general, but I don't understand why they do it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like it's something positive, and I don't feel like I don't feel like this is going to make anybody want to play Arrow Mages more. Like, who out there is thinking, oh man, I was totally not going to play Arrow Mages, but now that they're fucking hollow, I'm definitely going to get them. Like, these cards could have they could have just been both rares or both supers, and the same amount of players who wanted to play them before would have still wanted to play them. I don't think you're getting any more additional hype out of this. So let me know what you guys think. Are you a fan of rarity bumps? Well, that goes beyond question. Like, nobody's a fucking fan. But what do you think that they should do? Because I honestly think that they should just get rid of, like, all rarity bumps. Like, keep shit lower rarity. I don't think that it's going to hurt your sales. In fact, just get rid of the fucking secret rare in general, so that there's no more of this, no more of Yang Zing Path situations. Thank you guys for watching, as always.